Just because a market is growing doesn't mean that it's the best place to buy. Today, investors are jumping into certain areas under 650,000, thinking that they're going to get solid growth ahead in these markets, not knowing that these areas have already had a significant amount of growth. So today, I'm going to share 6 locations under 650,000 that I would avoid. Not because that these are bad areas, but because the buying window into these locations is already over. Hi, my name is Jadul Srikanth and I'm a buyer's agent for property investors, and I buy properties all around the country using a data-driven approach. So if you want to work with me, go to my website propertyframeworkbuyersagency.com.au and book a session with me there. Before I get into this video, I want to talk about a webinar that I'm running on the 6th of February at 7 p.m. So if you're looking to invest under 600,000 and are looking for different markets around the country, I'm going to cover state by state areas that are hotspots, areas that are recovering markets, and markets that have plenty of opportunity ahead. So we're going to cover things like where it's positioned in the market cycle, the pros and cons of investing into each market, what type of growth we can expect in these markets in the short and the medium term, and finally we're going to look at the major trends shaping these markets in 2025. So if you've got some free time on the 6th of February, Thursday at 7 p.m., I'll put the link in the description below. Just feel free to join me and you can ask questions there as well. So I'll hope to see you there. Now, let's get back to this video. Let me be very clear. These markets are really good areas. They have good fundamentals. The economy is strong. The supply-demand metrics on the ground is also strong. And the only reason that I'm not going to buy in these areas is because of the level of growth it has had. If you're someone who's looking to get like 30 to 50% growth over the next 5 years, I'm going to avoid these markets because they're not going to give you that. So the reasons I'm going to avoid these markets are because the prices have already surged, because investor activity in these areas has become really high, and there are better opportunities elsewhere around the country. So let's go through these markets one by one. The first one is an area which is getting a significant level of interest from buyers, agents, and investors. It's not going to be a surprise to you, and that's the region of Perth. And so there are 3 regions really where you could buy properties under 650,000. And investors have been going in large numbers into these areas. So these are regions like Armadale, Rockingham, Mandurah, right? So gone are the days where you could buy properties in these regions for 300 to 400,000. The entry-level prices in these areas are now sitting anywhere between 550 to 650,000. So they've had significant level of growth and significant investor activity into these markets, which are further pushing prices ahead. Now let's look at the amount of growth that they've had, right? So I've put here Armadale, Rockingham, and Mandurah. Over the past year, these regions have grown anywhere between 20 to 25%. Over 5 years, as you can see here, property values have doubled, and over that 10-year window, property prices have increased by 70 to 75%. So which means that over that 10-year window, the growth isn't too little, right? There has been some level of growth in that 10-year window. Affordability is getting stretched. So you can see here, all 3 regions, affordability is well above that 30-year threshold. So Armadale is sitting at 49.5 years, Rockingham 49.2, and Mandurah at 52.3. Let's look at the vacancy rate here. You can start seeing that in Mandurah, vacancy rates are just starting to move upwards. Nothing too much to worry about. It's just an increasing trend that we're seeing. Armadale similarly has seen an increase in the vacancy rate, now sitting at 1.5%. Rockingham has seen a slight uptick in the vacancy rates as well, as seen by this chart. And one of the most important things that I've shared this point in another video as well is the level of investor activity in these markets. So this is for Perth. And you can see new home loan commitments in billions. So you can see the owner-occupiers on the left, the first-home buyers in the center, and the investors on the right. So owner-occupier activity has remained fairly constant. First-home buyers has dropped. And investor activity in Perth has just risen up to 45%. The new home loan commitments have increased by 45% over the last year. So it feels like most of this upward price pressure, there's a lot of contribution coming in from investors. Yes, first-home buyers and home occupiers are putting the pressure on the market, but there is a significant contribution from the investors. Okay, now let's move the second area. Now this is a well-known city as well. So this is Adelaide, right? So there are three regions in Adelaide where you can still buy under 650,000. So one is the city of Playford, the other one is the Salisbury LGA, and the next one is the Onkaparinga LGA. So over the past year, these areas have had anywhere between 10 to 15% growth. Over the 5 years, essentially, you can see that property prices have doubled. And look at this 10-year growth window. Property prices have gone up by anywhere between 105% to 125% in these three regions, which is a significant level of growth over a 10-year window. And markets which have this level of growth over that 10-year period usually tend to slow down over the next 10 years. And that is why I would not buy into Adelaide anymore, right? The affordability as well is looking stretched in these areas. We can see it 40, 48 and 43 years. A lot of growth, affordability getting stretched while the supply demand metrics are still strong. If I'm looking for good solid short-term growth over that 5 years, probably Adelaide, I'm not going to buy here. I want to share one more important thing here, and that is the new loan commitments in Adelaide, right? So as you can see, by the first home buyers, the new home loan commitments activity has remained fairly constant. For the own occupiers, so this could be subsequent buyers, the new loan commitments has just started to decline. It's constant and it's just starting to decline. And the interesting one here is that investor activity, new loan commitments for investors has been increasing from January 2023 onwards. So we can see a significant uptick in the investor activity between January 2023 and July 2024. So that means the investors are contributing a lot to the price increase that we are seeing in Adelaide. Now, let's move to the third market, and that is the region of Ipswich. So Ipswich no longer is the hidden gem. Like, 3-4 years back, there was a significant price difference between Brisbane and Ipswich. But if you look at Ipswich now, even for an entry-level house, which is out of a flood zone, and you're buying a good quality property, you're looking at a bare minimum of $650,000, right? So Ipswich prices are really increased over the last 3-4 years, okay? And that price gap between Ipswich and Brisbane is starting to narrow down. So if you look at Ipswich over the past year, it's done 13.61, over 5 years, 91%, and over that 10-year window, it's done 120%. Affordability is just starting to get stretched. It's at 45 years. Like all these other markets, the market pressure is still very tight. And I don't see, when you buy a property at 650,000, I don't see this property moving to 800 or 900,000 in the next 3 to 5 years because it's already had so much growth, right? While the supply demand indicators look good, the area has gone through a lot of growth, and I'm not going to buy any Ipswich anymore. The next one, a very popular market for investors over the last few years, and this isn't too far from Brisbane either, and we're looking at the Toowoomba region. Toowoomba is a really stable market. The economy is very strong. Massive infrastructure projects have been announced for the region. A lot of people have been migrating to Toowoomba, but despite all that, it's had a fair amount of growth. 1 year 12%, 3 years 43%, 5 years 82%, and that 10 year is almost at 100%. Affordability is sitting at 44.5 years. Okay, again, the market pressure is still very tight. There will still be some growth, so don't get me wrong. There's going to be growth in the next 1-2 years, but then it's going to start slowing down and stagnating at some point. And if you look at areas like, Wilsonton, Rockville, Harristown, you were finding properties for 300, 400,000 maybe 2-3 years ago, and all these properties are now sitting at 550, 650,000. So sellers know that you're getting good prices here. They're renovating the properties and then selling them and then getting good properties actually coming to the market. I wasn't seeing this a few years ago. Toowoomba is a region that I would probably avoid. Now let's look at one more region. So this is still in Queensland. I'm going to look at the region of Bundaberg, right? So Bundaberg, again, 1 year's done 14.18%, 3 years 50.85%, 5 years 113%, 10 years 113%. So fairly significant levels of growth. Affordability is sitting at 44.8 years. And the last one for today, I'm going to go into South Australia, regional South Australia, and that's the region of Mount Gambier. Now, Mount Gambier has been having a significant level of interest by investors. A lot of investors have been buying in Mount Gambier for the last few years, but let's look at how much growth it's had. 1 year 7.36, 3 year 40.90, 5 years 79, 10 years 100%. So essentially doubling in value. And the affordability here is around 32 years, which is still good. So the affordability is good, but it had a lot of growth. So I don't expect these markets to give you 30 to 50 more growth in the next 3 to 5 years. So definitely another market that I would avoid. So that's it from me, guys. 6 markets that I would avoid buying into this year because there are better opportunities elsewhere. So if you like this video, please like and subscribe to my channel, and I will see you in my next video.